Hi there, my name is Linda Engels-Stieber. I have bilateral superior canal dehiscence. That means I have it in both of my ears. And I want to say hello to all of my friends from the SCD Facebook support group. And I'm hoping through this video I can address an issue that I have seen brought up over and over again on the support group Facebook page. We all talk about how difficult it is to explain our condition to people around us, and I'm hoping this will help to do that a little bit. My husband said to me recently that whenever he hears someone else talk about SCD, whether it's someone from the support group or someone in the medical profession, he ends up getting a better insight into what I might be going through. So hopefully I can be that someone else for you and help you explain what it's like to live with SCD to someone, that you care about and that cares about you. And maybe it'll help to do that through a different voice. So I have bilateral SCD. My right side was repaired in 2005 by Dr. Lloyd Minor and Dr. John Carey at Johns Hopkins in Baltimore. Those guys are two of my life heroes. And I was virtually non-symptomatic for about 10 blissful years. Recently, I had a noise trauma that set off symptoms in my left ear, and I'm making plans now to go and have a second surgery out in Baltimore with Dr. Carey. So the symptoms I'll be talking about today are the ones I'm dealing with currently. And there are a whole host of symptoms that SCD patients go through. I'm just going to talk about the ones that are the most prominent. One thing that I don't want to forget to mention is SCD sufferers look, for the most part, absolutely normal. There's no outward sign that things are amiss inside our heads. But things are very, very difficult to deal with in regards to symptoms, even though you can't see a cast on our leg or our arm or something that would give you a clue that things are not right. Things can be very horrendous inside the head of an SCD sufferer. So here are a few of the symptoms that I have that are the most prominent. If I'm in a busy environment of any kind with a lot of people talking, lights, a lot of activity, that can be very difficult for me to tolerate for any length of time. Being around a lot of noise sounds to me like I'm in a closet. If you can picture being in a closet or a very small room with a bunch of speakers piped in, and each speaker has a different voice coming out of it at a different volume, it ends up just sounding like a bunch of gobbledygook in my head, basically, and it can be very difficult to tolerate that for any length of time at all. Even being in a quiet environment is a challenge because of my recent noise trauma and my superior canal dehiscence. I have pulsatile tinnitus. I have dual toned tinnitus as well. So I have one tone going off in my right ear, a completely different tone going off in my left ear, and this is 24/7. And the tones kind of go in waves. They never stop, but the volume gets louder and quieter over the course of seconds. It's always changing, even though it's constantly present. So I know that sounds crazy, but that's what's going on in my head 24/7. Also, I can hear noises in a way that makes me think about the Bionic Woman. If anyone remembers that from the 1970s, it was something on television where this woman had extrasensory hearing. And I think a lot of people with SCD can relate to that. We feel like everyday noises are magnified and very, very difficult to tolerate. A ticking timer, plates clinking together, silverware scraping across a plate, feet shuffling, paper shuffling, plastic. Let's not even talk about plastic. Those things can be like nails on a chalkboard, basically, for an SCD sufferer. So if you love someone who has SCD and they express distress over some everyday noises, I would encourage you to be mindful and to just try to avoid making the noises that put them on edge. That would be a very loving thing that you could do. So hearing my own voice is a subject in and of itself. Because of my SCD, I hear my own voice magnified in my symptomatic ear to the point where I really can't hear it come out of my mouth. It's in my head that loud, and it sounds distorted. It doesn't sound normal. So talking is a big deal. I choose my words carefully. Sometimes I don't want to talk at all. I'm doing this for the benefit of you all, hoping that it will help, but it is tough for me to have a conversation. In addition to hearing my voice magnified in my head, when I speak, my vision jumps and tilts. I know that sounds bizarre, but that's what happens to me with every word that I speak, especially if I try to project at all. That just makes it worse. One of the things that I used to do for a living is I was a radio announcer, and I love that career. I've enjoyed it for many decades, and I miss it terribly. You can imagine that would be a challenge for somebody like me with these symptoms to carry out. So a lot of people have had to make some pretty significant lifestyle changes because of their SCD, and that makes it tough to cope with as well. I have vertigo, dizziness, imbalance, disequilibrium that comes and goes, sometimes contingent upon what I'm doing, sometimes for no apparent reason. Just because I have SCD, I'll get bouts of dizziness that will just come out of the blue. And some days are worse than others. If I attempt to exercise or do anything physical, my symptoms, my disequilibrium, my sense of imbalance seems to magnify. And I hear my own heartbeat in my left ear pretty much constantly, especially if I'm trying to get to sleep. I hear it constantly. But even when I'm awake, if I'm in a quiet room, I can hear it, and the horizon moves in kind of a wavy fashion with my heartbeat. So it's just crazy. And then if I attempt to do any kind of exercise or exert myself in any way, my heartbeat gets louder, and that wavy horizon sensation is even intensified. So it is completely bizarre and very, very difficult to explain, but hopefully you're getting a better insight into it. There are many emotional and mental changes that SCD patients face. As I mentioned before, sometimes having to scale back or give up activities, gatherings, things that are important to us because of our symptoms and trying to manage our symptoms. That can make it really tough to deal with. When we have to say no, we're invited somewhere, people can't really understand why. Again, we look normal. They see us somewhere and think, you look fine, what's your problem? But we know that being in a specific environment may be very difficult. So sometimes we have to turn things down that we wish we could do, but we know that it would just be too uncomfortable. So that can make it very difficult to deal with mentally and emotionally. Being misunderstood, having people question or judge can be very, very difficult as well. So be mindful also that your person that you love with SCD may be having a difficult time sleeping. And even for a healthy individual, being sleep deprived can turn your world upside down a little bit. So for SCD patients, we're often dealing with continual sleep deprivation. Our sleep is very interrupted. It's hard to fall asleep, hard to stay asleep because of the symptoms that we're dealing with. So we're living in a sleep deprived state most of the time. Brain fog is another really, really difficult symptom to deal with because of the onslaught of all of the things that we have going on in our head on a regular basis. We get overwhelmed. Our brain is constantly trying to process, trying to figure out how to keep our balance. Our muscles are being called upon to help us maneuver and know where we are in the world, as well as our eyesight. And our brain is just processing so much stimuli all the time that it's tiring. We end up very, very tired a lot of the time. I never used to be a person that took naps, and doing that more than I ever thought I would. I used to work 2 jobs and be on the go continually, and SCD has got me in a place where managing my symptoms means being in an environment that I can control 100% almost all the time. So it is difficult. What can help? If you love someone that has SCD, what can you do? The cure for this condition The best cure are some very intricate surgical procedures, and not everyone is able to obtain the help that they need immediately upon being diagnosed. So, how can you help somebody manage symptoms and be a supportive loved one? Some of the friends and family around me have said some wonderful things, and I boiled them down to three. One of them is tell me what it's like. So you can ask the person that you know that has SCD, tell me what it's like, and then just listen. Just let them talk. That is a beautiful thing. The other thing, my husband says these a lot. He'll say, what would help right now? What would help make it better right now? And that might be just, help me be distracted, or maybe you want a cup of tea, or you just want someone to hold your hand. The other thing that he'll say is, tell me how I can help you. So those are wonderful things you can say. Tell me what it's like, what would help right now, and how can I be of help to this situation? And try not to take anything personally. If the person you love who has SCD is, not themselves, they seem grumpy or crabby, try not to take it personally. It's not anything against you. This is a tough condition to live with. And as SCD sufferers, I encourage you to be as descriptive as you can with your loved ones and your family, those who care enough to listen. Share with them in analogies like the closet one that I used, what it's like for you to help give them some kind of insight that they can relate to. So from Green Bay, Wisconsin, I am just sending all of my love and hugs to all my SCD family out there. Hang in there, guys. I pray for you all every single day. Take care. You're not alone.